Hello, my name is Dave, and I am an American. Well, I was not born here in America, you see, but now I'm an American citizen. My father and I moved here when I was 9 years old. My mom, she passed away a year before we moved. She had cervical cancer, my mom. My father, a surgeon, could not save her. No one in India could. I suspect anyone here could have saved her either. Not in those days. So soon after that, my father brought me here for a new beginning. He wanted a big family, my father. But my mom, because of her illness, couldn't provide. There were many women or Pengal in Chennai where I was born, but my father, you see, he's not an open book. He has many secrets, and one of which was how painful it was for him to lose my mom. If you knew him, well, not like the way I knew him, if you knew him on a surface way, like a casual hello, then you will never know what he was going through. He went about his business, working, treating patients, as though my mom was always alive. She was a spiritual person, my mom, always obsessing over nature. She knew every tree, bush, and plant there was to know. Her favorite was the pomegranate. We had one in our garden, which somehow, somehow sustained even after she was gone. My father often complained that she cared more about the plants than about her family. And my mom would retaliate by saying that she could say the same about the patients. This usually silenced her. I always felt loved by her, even if she was not there. It was difficult for my father to relate to any other woman in Chennai. They either reminded him too much of her or maybe not enough. So, 2 weeks after the first death anniversary of my father suddenly announced that we were moving to Minneapolis. Now, I had never heard of Minneapolis at this point in my life. I just knew cities like Chennai or any other major city that I had studied in school. If you would have said New York City or Los Angeles, then I would have understood. But Minneapolis could have been a place on the moon for all I knew. I remember weeping, big, angry tears, uncontrollable, weeping for the loss of my mom, weeping for the loss of my friends whom I thought I'll never see in my life again, weeping for the pomegranate tree. But most importantly, I remember my father, a proud, stoic man, a closed book my entire life. He knelt down before me and put his hands on my shoulder. Deva, you're a big boy now. எப்படி இருக்கீங்க Deva? You have been a child all this while, but now is the time to shed these childish tears. Hmm? What is it that you say when you see superstar Rajnikant on the big screen? You want to be like him, no? You see, Deva, the path is not always lit up with candles. Sometimes, as men, we have to find ourselves when we are lost. We have to search within ourselves to find the inner light. Ever since your Amma died, I've been searching, Deva, within myself. There is a hospital in Minneapolis. They have contacted me. I don't know if that is the path we are meant to take, but my heart is heavy, Deva. My heart weeps like your eyes do for your Amma. I cannot stay in this city for the fear of breaking beneath the heavy load. You see, in America, there are no reminders. There are no bushes reminding us what we are missing. You are a bright boy, Deva. Hmm? See, today you may weep, but tomorrow these tears must end, for you will find happiness again. I was silent. My father did not weep. My father, the surgeon, was not capable of such an emotion. Yet, his confession silenced me. I did not weep that night, nor did I weep tomorrow or the day after that. Instead, I began to grow excited. It was like an adventure, as he had mentioned. My friends, however, were not as saddened as I had hoped them to be. Instead, they were excited also. They were. America has pretty women, man. So many women. And not stupid ones like Daksha. Shh. Hey, Ahan, be careful, man. Daksha is listening to you. She's coming. Oh, she's looking angry. Oh, Ahan, if you think I'm so stupid, then why do you keep writing me love letters all the time? I didn't write you any love letters, stupid. Deva, don't pay any attention to her. She's enamored with me and makes up elaborate stories. Dear Daksha, your eyes are as beautiful as the lotus that blossoms on Lord Vishnu's left hand. Give me that. Years later, they would convince their parents to arrange a marriage between the two of them. Here in America, people do ask me a lot about arranged marriages. Well, I tell them that's not always the case. But if you're smart enough, you can arrange your own. Oh, where was I? Yeah. So my father and I sold our property with the garden, with the pomegranate tree, and all our mother's memory, and we left for America 2 months before my 10th birthday in June. Now, Chennai is a humid place, right? In the coldest of winters, the temperature might drop down to, let's say, 21 degrees Celsius or 70 degrees Fahrenheit. In June, Minneapolis was 70 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, I thought, okay, that's a cold summer. We had no idea that the hottest Minneapolis would ever get. In October, 2 months after my 10th birthday, the temperature dropped down to 21 degrees Fahrenheit. That's below zero in Celsius. I saw snow for the first time in my life. I had never seen snow in my life before. Yeah, except in the movies, of course. Deva, why don't you go out and play in the snow, Deva? Illa, pa, I don't want to. It is not every day that you see snow, pa. Go. We stay in Minneapolis, appa. It will be every day we see snow for the rest of our lives. No, 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 no. You will soon see birds and grass again. Come, come. See, I see two fellows of your age playing in the snow. Go, go say hello to them. Go. Now, since we had moved to America in June, the schools here were shutting down for summer. So I got 2.5 months to get acquainted with the entire neighborhood. I literally knew every street, every road, every house number there was to know. The people, not so much. My father knew a lot of English because of his medical practices. I back then wouldn't have understood a single word I'm saying now. Of course, I knew English, but not enough to feel that I belonged. Plus, this was Minnesota with white faces as far as the eye could see. No one in the city looked like me. Or at least that's what I thought in my first summer in my new home. Over the course of the summer, I just met one fellow of my age, Brian. He was a very quiet boy, freckles, bullied. More by his family members, it seems, than by his classmates. Yet he had a very hopeful spirit about him. And for some reason, he spent a lot of time that summer in my place. Well, he did introduce me to video games, the R-rated ones anyway, like Mortal Kombat or Grand Theft Auto, the ones that he didn't have access to in India. Everything was fine until 2 weeks before my birthday. Brian stopped coming over. A neighbor said that his father had assaulted his mother and put her in the hospital. The boy's father was arrested, and Brian was sent down to live with a relative down in Arizona somewhere. There is violence in India, a lot in certain parts, but I was shocked to know that there was violence here in America as well. I do remember him from time to time, Brian, and I do wonder how he is. Trust me, I have searched for him on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. Still haven't found him. Two other people caught my attention that summer: Mr. and Mrs. Kittle. They were a Jewish couple who stayed 7 blocks away from my house. Now, they were a German couple, so they spoke with a thick European accent, which meant that their English was harder to understand than mine. Now, in most part of this section of the city, there is barely any room for land. You will be having like a house which is mostly an apartment or a duplex with one house on the top of another, or abutting each other uncomfortably like a bunion on the side of your foot. And there will be this patch of grass or a tree in front of your house, and the highway 20 feet away from the front door. But Mr. and Mrs. Kittle, they had an orchard, a veritable forest of apple trees in their backyard. I discovered it later that summer in one of my grand expeditions beyond the magical 6 blocks. And as I stood there, slack-jawed, wide-eyed open, in their driveway, gaping up in amusement, I heard a voice creak up. "Would you like to try an apple, young man?" Now, I know it's harder to believe for an American audience, but even in India, we were aware of the infamous Snow White mythology. If an old woman offers you an apple, you run. I know, it's tough to believe, but an almost 10-year-old brown skinned immigrant, as far removed grammatically and chronologically from Snow White, I knew the answer was to run. I mean, my brain could scream it aloud in 2 languages: "Run!" as well as "Odra!" I could feel the gravel road crunch beneath my feet. I could see the air fizz through my hair. Yet the only thing that I did not do was run. Nor did I Odra. Instead, like a foolish college girl in a gory movie, I sauntered into the danger, completely ignoring the multilingual warnings that were screaming inside my brain. "Thank you for the apple," I said meekly, as I took a giant bite into it. Oh, thank God it wasn't poisoned, nor was it the most delicious apple that I ever had. But it was ripe, and I was hungry. So I finished the entire apple in less than 1 minute. Then she offered me another. But this time I said, yes. Upon completion of the second apple, she offered me a tour into the orchard. Now, I know she's an elderly woman, and the apples have turned out to be fine. So I was pretty confident I can take it out, unless she has any mischief up her sleeve. "Mr. Kittle and I moved there 50 years ago when this land was yet to be developed. You see, William had some inheritance back when his mother died. So he bought 6 plots of land interconnected to one another. So we set up our house in one and the orchard in the remaining 5. Oh, we have been approached a great deal by real estate developers to sell this land over the years. But our children grew up in this land. This land is like a family to us. We would never sell it to any real estate developer, no matter what the political or economical forces told us." "Do your children come here?" "Oh yes, they spend a great deal of time on these lands. This land is what keeps us closer." How many children do you have, Mrs. Effa? Please call me Effa. We have 8 children, though one perished due to illness. Poor Wilhelm has still not gotten over the shock. Oh, I'm so sorry. Do you have any siblings? My Amma passed away last year. My father is the only one I have. He's yet to remarry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Deva, Deva, we will be good friends, Deva. You are welcome here. Always. Excited to share this news with my father, I waited for him to come back from work from the hospital that night. I slept off hours before he arrived. Next day, on the eve of my birthday, he was so moody. The surgery had not gone well the previous day, so I decided to spare him this news. He didn't even wish me the next day. This lack of communication continued with me and my father for the entire summer for one reason or another. I did not want to hide anything from him, yet I found one reason or another. It felt like lying. It felt deceptive. And yet, it felt like my adventure. And I consoled myself by saying, isn't this the adventure my father wanted me to have? He seemed pleased that I had this one friend, or at least the friend he knew, Brian. And the day Brian disappeared, when he was sent off to Arizona, my father seemed disappointed in me somehow. We never discussed it, of course, but it was clear that it was bothering him that I had no friends, which was more the reason why I wanted to tell him about Mr. and Mrs. Kittle, two American, German couple living in the middle of Minneapolis with an apple orchard. So, why didn't I tell him? Was it anger? Was it fear? Was it fear that he wouldn't understand? Was it fear that he will ask me to stay away from them? Trust me, a great number of years have gone by and I still don't know answers to those questions. But what I did know was that it was September and it was time for me to join an American school. There was not a single Indian in that entire school. Yeah, of course, there was this Native American boy named Edgar, whom everyone called Indian, as a misplaced homage to Christopher Columbus, I guess. There were a lot of Canadian kids who looked more American than Americans. Yeah, there were these two African American kids, AJ and Jeremy. Oh yeah, and of course, there was a girl from Singapore, Wen. W-E-N. And despite the lack of H in her name, all the students every time made time-sensitive remarks to her. When do you comb your hair? When? When do you go to the library? When? When do you go to have lunch? When? I mean, honestly, I did not get any of those jokes. But that was partly because of my partial knowledge in English and mostly because poor Wen always looked as if she was wondering that when would these guys just hush up and leave her alone. Okay, to my discredit, I never helped her out. I was too shy and terrified on being on the receiving end of all those abuses myself. I mean, my fears are warranted. Because the animated series The Simpsons was the most popular thing on TV that time. And the character Apu was the only thing these people could relate to with anyone vaguely resembling my culture. I was flooded with questions on squishies and quickie marts and whether my father was friends or enemies with Homer Simpson. I was tired of explaining to them, no, my father is not a convenience store owner. My father is a doctor. And yet they wouldn't believe me. That African-American boy, AJ, he once called me Apu Jr. It triggered me so bad, I called him Shaquille O'Neal. Okay, That wasn't well received because he was a Chicago Bulls fan. All right. Even he wanted to beat me up in the gymnasium that evening. My saving grace was I did not understand the word gymnasium. And also, I could run very fast. And Mr. AJ, just like Shaquille O'Neal, couldn't. Later, when he found out that I was good at science, he became my friend. Or at least he was no longer my enemy, as he had figured out that my knowledge could work to his advantage. It took me some time to make actual friends in the school. It was mostly because I feared the worst when people were trying to be nice to me. There's so much insecurity at that age. It heightens up when you don't feel belonged. But the only place I always felt belonged was the house of the Kittles. Now, Mr. Kittle was an extremely kind, extremely funny man with always a mischievous smile on his face. As a small child, he was thrown into one of those concentration camps in Germany, back when the world was at war for the second time, as they say. But if you study history, the world has always been at war for one reason or another. He barely remembered anything, he claimed. His mother was a Jew, though she did not practice. But when Germany started their great extermination, she somehow managed to, hide under the Dach. His father, the senior Mr. Kittle, was not a Jew, and he made no signs of the fact that he was married to a Jewish woman. Instead, he hung a Nazi flag outside his main door, like any proud German would. But the Third Reich was none the wiser. And as the cruel events of the concentration camps grew more and more in Mr. Senior Kittle's mind, his faith in his own country began to waver. Comments were made. Comments critical of Adolf Hitler and his cruel regime. And these comments did not go well with the neighbors. Soon, he removed the Nazi flag from his main door. And next day, the German secret services had him removed. Those brown shirts told my mother that it was a suicide. That my father was so distraught at work that he jumped from the window of the 5th floor of a building and died. In her grief, my mother accused these people of murder. Well, that's not a smart thing to tell to a Nazi soldier, but nevertheless, they arrested her. She would have escaped with a minor penalty here and there. But unfortunately, when they searched her home, they found the Torah and the Jewish prayer shawl, or talit. My father's Lutheran heritage was evidently known, so they correctly assumed that it was my mother's. And since I was her son, next day, both of us were sent to Dachau. My uncle was a German soldier, my father's brother. He sued to his commander on our behalf, and my mother and I were allowed to stay together, though we were not spared the concentration camp. I remember the Allied forces dropping in 10 months after in Dachau and freeing us through those gates. My uncle was thrown into the same jail that I had just emerged from. I don't remember anything else, apart from the fact that my mother and I survived. Yes, I remember the shame, the collective shame that covered all of Germany. I met Wilhelm at the university in Munich in 1962. I was a freshman and he was a junior. You see, my family fled for Switzerland way before the war started. So we missed out a lot of the horror, thank God. But 10 years after the war, my father wanted to return to Munich. We had relatives buried in Munich. Germany was taking great strides to rebound. Not so much in East Germany, but in the 1950s, it was as if the war had never happened. Well, oh, there were great whispers and deep secrets and wounds that would never heal. But people by and large wanted our forgiveness. Oi! Those people should be ashamed of themselves for covering up murder. These people were not murderers, Wilhelm. The murderers were arrested and put on trial. These were regular citizens who said nothing when these crimes were being committed. Your father also said nothing for a great deal of time. Yes, but not by the end. In the end, he spoke, and they murdered him anyway. So you can see why these people were terrified with him. My father was punished for his earlier silence. These people, these people welcomed us into their homes. They cooked dinner for us. Yes, they asked questions because they wanted to understand. And did they understand? Yes, I believe some of them did. Well, good for them. This back and forth was common between the kittles. Despite endlessly seeing through different colored glasses, the world that is, there was so much love between the two. I barely understood the concentration camps concept. I had studied extensively about Mr. Gandhi in my school back in India and his fight for civil rights. So I understood the broad concept of injustice, though the specific details eluded me. Okay, coming back to the Kittles. The Kittle household was very different. They had a garden in the living room where most people have a television or a couch in the living room. The Kittles had neatly divided rows of radishes, carrots, tomatoes, squashes, beans. On the shelves, they grew herbs like mustard seeds, like rosemary, like basil. Oh, that living room had a pungent odor which I can still smell in my nostril. It gets quite cold here in the winter in Minneapolis. So we grow all our plants inside our home so they can grow all year round. You must not trust the government, young man. I've seen what happens when people trust the government for sustenance. People starve to death in Dachau. My mother used to tell me about a woman in our cabin who used to peel off calluses from her hands and feet and eat it as a form of nourishment. In the end, she was bleeding and eating of raw flesh while she was dying. Food was a luxury in Dachau. When my father moved to Switzerland, he started working as a goat butcher. Yeah, he was a lawyer, but after Kristallnacht happened, he couldn't practice, so he left. I heard the goats scream every night before slaughter. I worried a lot, so my father told me that's something that goats do and I shouldn't be concerned about it. I was about your age when I understood the correlation between the screaming goats and the food we were eating. I stopped eating goat from that night. And soon I stopped eating beef, lamb, chicken, pig. I couldn't eat anything that was murdered. It would sicken my mother when she heard people eat meat. That's why she grew me up as a vegetarian. I do eat seafood, but on rare occasions. When I met Willem at the university in Munich, I think we were the only two vegetarians there. That is one of the things that drew us closer. Oh, there were other vegetarians, but none as beautiful as her. Oh, stop. Despite their advanced age, there was so much love between the two of them. Their love has always been a model for me, as was the love between my parents when my mom was alive. Growing up, my mom used to tell me the story of the Bhishma. My mom was enamored with the Hindu epic Mahabharata, which continued, which had the legend of Bhishma. You see, at birth, Bhishma was named Devbrat, just as I am. As a grown up, he took a terrible vow, which is what the name Bhishma stands for, he of the terrible vow. In Indian society, it is considered righteous to get married and have children and aid in samsara, which is a continuous reincarnation cycle. And if you stop to have children, then your souls will never reborn. And despite knowing all that, Bhishma chose the vow of chastity, that he would never remarry, which was against the natural order of samsara. And he did all this to impress his father, King Shantanu. Now, as far as legend goes, Bhishma or Devbrat was a child of River Ganga and King Shantanu. When the great River Ganga fell in love with King Shantanu, she took a form of a human to woo him. Soon, both of them were madly in love with each other and got married and had 8 children, all in line to be the king, one after another, after King Shantanu. But one day, River Ganga drowned 7 of her kids, and when she was about to drown the 8th one is when King Shantanu stopped him and asked, "Why is she doing this?" She explained that there was an unjust curse placed upon her and her children. In fact, they were not her children at all. They were Vasus. Now, Vasus in Hindu folklore are elemental gods like earth, moon, fire, and more. They were cursed to be in human selves and not in the elemental selves. So Ganga claimed that she was freeing her sons from something worse than death by drowning them. However, King Shantanu forbade her from doing it to the 8th child. It angered her, so she took the child away with her. This left King Shantanu devastated. That 8th child was Devbrat. Away from his time from King Shantanu, Ganga had Devbrat trained under some of the wisest men and gods from Hindu folklore, from Brahma to Vishnu to Vasishtha. Devbrat turned out to be a wise man, and he went through a powerful journey to reach the core of his wisdom. When he returned back home to King Shantanu, his father welcomed him with open arms and kept him beside him for 4 years. Now, by the time he was abandoned by Ganga, King Shantanu fell in love with a fisherwoman. There's clearly something between water and women that was mesmerizing King Shantanu, I guess. So King Shantanu reached out to his son Devbrat and asked him to go and talk to the fisherwoman's father and arrange a marriage between the two. The fisherwoman's father refused. He said, "It will be Devbrat's kids who will be king and not Satyavati and King Shantanu's." Hence, Devbrat chose a vow that he would never claim the throne. "Nonsense," exclaimed the father. He said, "Even after you die, it'll be your kids who will stick claim to the throne and not Satyavati's." Hence, Devbrat took the vow of chastity that he would never marry and never have children. So impressed was the fisherwoman's father that he agreed, and King Shantanu married Satyavati. So humbled was King Shantanu by his son's sacrifice that he renamed him Bhishma, or he of the terrible vow, and he granted him the boon of Ichamrityu, which was immortality until date and time of your own choosing. Ichamrityu, it seems. When my mother was dying, I asked her about Ichamrityu. She said no. But if she had that option, she would have never left me. I asked her, do I have the power of Ichamrityu? She said, maybe. After all, you are named Devbrat. But she pleaded me to not try it out for many, many years to come. So far, I haven't tried it. So I don't know. Meanwhile, in Minneapolis, my father was as distant as ever. The work was clearly weighing in on him. The loss of home, my mother's memories, despite a huge ocean separating us from all of that. And also, the unusual lack of pomegranates in Minnesota was not helping, clearly. So he submerged himself in work, even more than he ever did in Chennai. One fateful morning, he was at home because there was snow that covered the roads. It's important for a surgeon to be at the hospital, but the assistant surgeon said, please don't come. So my father stayed over. I asked him, would you like to play a video game with me? Of course, I knew he won't play Mortal Kombat with me, but Brian had left it over, so I asked. Why don't you go out and play in the snow, Deva? Come, look, I see two kids of your age playing in the snow. Go say hello to them. He wanted to be alone, my father, so I agreed. I bundled up on the warmest clothes we had in the house, though they were not that warm enough, and I stepped outside. Those two kids took one look at me and they ran off. I didn't even get a chance to say hello. I didn't know whether I was angry or relieved. I remember walking off to the place where I was always welcomed, the house of Mr. and Mrs. Kittle. In their garden, Mr. Kittle was wrapping up blankets around the base of each of the apple trees. Mrs. Kittle was standing next to him with a kettle in her hand and pouring warm water around the blankets. Does it help? I asked. It doesn't hurt. You can see that they have grown up to be so strong. It gets really cold in winter. You must always protect the trees, Deva, for they are also the part of the universe. Today I found out something about your people, Deva. What did you find out? When I was a 10-year-old child, my father used to hang a Nazi flag on the main door. Do you know what the symbol on the Nazi flag looks like? I nodded. I was just a 10-year-old kid. I couldn't picture it. It looks like a swastika. Your people are Hindu, yes? In Hindu culture, the swastika stands for peace and prosperity. Those bastards stole your symbol and corrupted it like anything else they touched. Yet, my father hung a Nazi flag outside the main door. Oh, it brought him great luck until the day he took it down, is when all his fortunes ended. Now, Wilhelm, what? Your uncle also wore a swastika on his uniform the day they executed him. It did not bring him any luck that day. That's because they corrupted it. Nor did it bring any luck to the millions of people who died staring at that wretched thing. That wretched thing is the symbol of his people. No, Wilhelm, I'm sorry. Deva, it is not the symbol of Hinduism anymore. Your symbol was stolen by some very cruel and angry people. In fact, I believe it doesn't belong to Hinduism at all. Now, it belongs to something very evil. I did not know what to say. I mean, the swastika was one of the top three symbols in Hinduism. And it was in regular use in my country and throughout the world. Knowing now of the pain that was inflicted under the German flag of that time, I can totally understand the pain it gives when people see that symbol. I mean, it's unfair to tell people not to use such a symbol just because a couple of Europeans who were conflicted and angry did not understand the fact that we are all connected to one another in this universe, that we are all one and the same, that people who do not obey this principle and continue to torture other people are bound to suffer in the next reincarnation. Nevertheless, I try to change the topic. How was it growing up? 8 children? 7. No, there were 8. And it was wonderful and lovely. We were truly blessed. One day when you become a father, Deva, you will understand. And where are your children now? The old woman and the old man looked at each other and smiled. They are with us always. We care for them always. In fact, you have just eaten from one of them. I stared at the core of the apple that I was holding. You see, Deva, these trees are our children, the nourishers and givers of life. We planted the seeds of the trees the year we came. We watered them, raised them, protected them from the outer cold and outside elements, protected them from real estate developers. Yes, and in exchange, they gave us warmth in winter, shade in summer, and nourishment throughout the year. You must always protect the trees, Deva, for they are also the part of the universe. One of our children, David, had a disease. His roots would not absorb water as his brothers did. We tried everything. Sprinklers, hoses, a pool of water around the base, but he wouldn't drink a sip. We prayed, spoke gently to him, consulted a topiary expert. Nothing worked. And eventually, he succumbed to dehydration and died. We have left this hole here in his memory for many, many years. I looked down. There was no longer a hole there. Instead, there was a small tree, like a sapling, and it looked different from the other trees in the orchard. You see, they were years after fleeing from the concentration camp. My mother told me that she did not want to die until she saw me safe and out of the grasp of those Nazis. She survived for 16 years. And one day, April 17th, I can never forget. While I was at the college, she sent me this letter. Dear Wilhelm, you are a good boy. It was you who kept me alive at Dachau. It was you who kept me alive when your father died. It was you who kept me alive when the world dissolved into madness around us. In the 16 years since we have left Dachau, I have been honored and blessed to watch you grow into a man. In the years before Dachau, I was ashamed to be a Jew.
for the world was ashamed of me. I would not tell anyone, not even your father, until the day we were married. He was so angry. He was so upset, but more out of fear than hate. He worried so much for our safety. In the months we spent in Daksha, I learned what it means to be a Jew, to have faith above else all, to have pride in your people, to have pride in your family, to have pride in your son. You have made me so proud, Wilhelm, so very, very proud. Until we meet each other next time, it will be another lifetime. And I've chosen this time to slip into eternal peace. I couldn't die in Dachau. I wouldn't. But today, I die a free woman. Today, I die a Jew and the proud mother of a proud Jewish boy. You have my love, Wilhelm, for always. Go. Celebrate and decorate this world with love. Signed, your mother, Ruth. I rushed home from college, but she was gone. The doctors could not find any murder weapon or any pills. For all this while, I thought it was a suicide until I met you, Deva. You told us this story of the Bhishma. Do you think a Jew can be Bhishma? Or a woman? I did not know the answers to these questions, as I was fixated on the plant that was planted there. Which tree is this, Mr. Kittle? It's a pomegranate tree. Why? I ordered it from a mail catalog in India just for you. And I hoped you will help us raise it. Will you? I was ecstatic. I nodded yes. We are growing older, Deva. We have no human relative to leave this property to. If we teach you, would you like to live here one day? Mr. Kittle, did you say that your mother passed away on April 17th? Yes, that's correct. Why do you ask? That was the birthday of my mother. Which year did she pass away? In 1961. And with those two words, my eyes began to weep like River Ganga. For the first time since the first death anniversary of my mother.